Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, and in this video we're going to go over the character review for Lupobia Rashut. We will cover all the usual points and we're going to start with a general overview of the unit. If you watched my tier list update video, you already know that I gave her irregular because she's an insane unit to have. She brings a lot to the table and she will always be a good unit. I don't think there will ever be a time when this unit cannot be used. It is really insane. She is the best HP recovery block unit in the entire game, and it is unremovable, always up, really good. She also has some energy decrease in her kit, some decent damage if she's not against enemies that can remove buffs. So overall, really solid. Now, she becomes a lot better when she's Rainbow 5, but that is not really needed. I mean, at 0 dupes, her HP recovery block is going to be single target, and the energy decrease is not as good. But I mean, it's still more than enough in a lot of teams. If you're just using her for utility, she will improve a lot of teams already at 0 dupes, which is one of the reasons why I think she's not a must pool, even though she's a insane unit. I think you can still use her at 0 dupes. If you don't have enough tickets, you don't have to stress about it. You don't have to go to 0 resources just to max her out. I don't think that is necessary. She will still bring you a lot of value at 0 dupes, which I think is great. So again, the main issue is that at 0 dupes, her HP recovery block is single target, the energy decrease is not that good, and also the damage is obviously a bit lacking. I used her a lot at 0 dupes, and I can tell you she will work fine. Don't worry. Even as a DPS, if you have the right supports, she can still win a 450, 500 deficit. Is not an issue even at 0 dupes in terms of damage. So that's great. But the core is again the HP recovery block. When you get her to Rainbow 5, that HP recovery block becomes AoE, or can become AoE, but most of the time it will be. And she also gains a very consistent energy decrease. So all things considered, maxing her out would be worth it. But again, keep in mind how many tickets you have. We are very close to the next EX unit, which is going to come out in January. We might even get a collab at the end of the month, so be prepared to have some suspension saved up for that. And Robadon could also be a pretty insane unit. You never know. So all things considered, only go for her if you have some, I don't know, 1,500 black market tickets in total, something like that. Maybe you could say, okay, I will go for Rashut, invest 600 of them, and maybe in 2 months make them back, kind of. So yeah, you really have to consider how many tickets you can farm. Make sure to get to I would say January with around 1,600, 1,700, 1,800 tickets, because we will also get an anniversary SSR Plus unit, and that unit might be busted like most of the anniversary or half anniversary units. So keep that in mind, guys. You need a lot of tickets for that. But okay, enough about the general overview. Let's have a quick look at the kit, equipment, and revolution. So let's start with the kit. We're going to start with the passive, which is the core of what she does. The first part is basically irrelevant. She's going to gain lifesteal. We don't care. And every time she lifesteals, she's going to get an attack increase, max 20 stacks. That's why I said if you're not facing units that can remove buffs, she can deal quite a lot of damage. 800% attack increase is nothing to ignore, is really good buff. And at the start of a battle, this is the most important part, she's going to basically connect to the lowest defense enemy with a chain, and they're going to receive damage. Okay, the damage is whatever, doesn't matter too much. The important part will be in the exclusive equipment, which is the HP recovery block. So the enemy with the chain will have their HP recovery blocked, period. Doesn't matter how high your accuracy it is, doesn't matter how high your effect it is, doesn't matter if they remove it, they can't do shit. They will have the HP recovery applied no matter what, which is insane value, really good. And when the connected enemy dies, Rashut is going to recover HP, which is again kind of irrelevant, recover energy, which depending on the time, it could be relevant. And then she's going to connect to a new target. Perfect. And every time she uses a skill, they will prioritize going on the enemy with the chain, but that's written already in the active skill. So I don't know why they had to write it here as well, but fine. So that's it for the passive. Really good stuff. Then we have the first active skill, which is kind of a shitty grouping skill that deals decent damage. And that's it. I mean, the grouping is kind of meh because it could also throw units around, not necessarily group them up. And it's going to focus on the enemy that has the chain, as we already saw from the passive, but it's written again in all active skills. The damage is 3200 in total, not bad, but that's about it. That's all the skill does. So we can move on to the next one, which is the most important active skill that she has, is going to work with the revolution. So it's really, really important. She's going to gain a skill block for like 6 hits for a duration of 10 seconds when she uses the skill. Then she's going to teleport to an enemy that has the chain. That is annoying at times. We're going to see once we talk about the Revolution 4. But yeah, okay, she's going to teleport, deal a lot of damage, 1200% attack 4 times to enemies in range, stealing 200 energy from them with each attack. So that is potentially 800 energy decrease on an AoE, which is good, obviously. So really good stuff. She becomes immune to status effects while using the skill, fine. So this is a really good skill. I'm still upset about the teleport, but again, more on that later. Then we have the special move. She's going to fly for 8 seconds, becoming immune to status effects and cannot be targeted, which is massive, but she can still be hit by AoE attacks, so be careful about that. And when the flight begins, she's going to launch 4 attacks. They're going to deal 1600% attacks damage on an AoE with each of them. Pretty good numbers. And then she's going to deal 800% of her attack damage every second to the target and the enemies nearby until her flight ends. This is a really good number considering enemies will not heal it up. So really, really good. Additionally, this is a major downside. She's going to consume 100 energy whenever she has that to recover HP, which is irrelevant, and increase her special move pierce by 10% with a maximum of 15 stacks, so 150% special move pierce. Again, if enemies don't have buff removals, this is quite the buff, but I hate it because this will prevent you from chaining the flight mode and have it up all the time. And I mean, makes sense because otherwise she would have been untargetable. You just deploy her and you eventually win. So it makes no sense. So they had to do something like this. But yeah, I mean, she can die, obviously. It's fine. It's fine at the end, but I don't like it too much. She's gaining a lot of energy anyway, so it hardly matters. The downtime will be 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 seconds at times, depending on the investment, some other things, but it's okay. It's acceptable, I would say. Then let's move on to the exclusive equipment. I don't get the physical resistance stats, but we can move on and ignore that. While she's flying, she has a 50% accuracy increase, pretty cool, and also a 40% magic pierce increase. Again, really good buff. For level 3, we have an attack efficiency increase for the chain from 400% to 600%, fine. And every 3 seconds, she's going to stun the enemy chain for 1 second. It's okay. 33% of the time, enemies will be like CC'd, which is decent, again, if they can be CC'd, but yeah, pretty cool. And the most important one is obviously level 4, blocks HP recovery of enemies that are connected with Bloody Chain. Really good. Then let's have a look at the Revolution. And Revolution 4 is what I was mentioning before for the Crimson Burst active skill. I don't really like it, or at least I don't like this part here, because whenever flight mode starts or ends, the cooldown of Crimson Burst is going to be decreased by 10 seconds. If she uses Crimson Burst while she is in the flight, so with the first part, it is okay. because she's untargetable and she has a 6-hit skill barrier, which is going to protect her, and that's fine. But then when the flight ends, she's going to reduce the cooldown again, and most likely will have the cooldown low enough for her to cast it again. She will jump in the middle of the enemy team, be protected from skills, but not from basic attacks. And a lot of times she will die. I really don't like this second part, but I guess it's fine. I mean, you just have to build a team around like giving her survivability, and at that point, you're fine. Then we have Revolution 5. This is really massive because enemies with the chain will have their energy decreased by 200, and she's going to steal this 200 energy, so she's going to gain it every second. Massive. Additionally, which is also super important, when she uses the active skill we just mentioned before, so Crimson Burst, she's going to connect all enemies it for 10 seconds with the chain. So she's going to turn the HP recovery block and the energy decrease into AoE. Super insane. And okay, when you recast Crimson Burst, you're going to remove the old chains and apply to the newly hit targets. That's it. Pretty simple and straightforward. Really, really strong Revolution 5. This is really massive. Okay, that's it for the kit overview. We can now have a look at the ignition weapons. I put as the best in slot L. The main reason is that the hit barrier is really helpful throughout the whole fight, and the extra attack speed is not too relevant. Also, the increase in attack is decent, is not a must. It is mainly here for survivability purposes, and it's fairly decent. The only scenario where L is bad is if you're running, for example, SSR plus Eura that has an active skill cooldown decrease, or if you're running Albelda with her, or any other form of like cooldown reduction, or if you're running max cooldown reduction in the Revolution subnodes maxed out, which would be fine, depends on the teams. I probably would avoid it at the moment. So unless you have a lot of cooldown reduction, which means you're going to be stuck in animations a lot, she will have a decent uptime on L. So I always have 3-hit barrier, even if mine is Rainbow 5. So I think you shouldn't really have a problem, and this is a good survivability throughout the whole fight. It's not going to help from early assassinations or anything like that. For that, you would have to use Barry, which is still a really solid pick. So why not? You can always go Barry. I tend to like L a bit more, so that's why I put that as best in slot, but Barry is really worth it anyway. The last pick would be Mago. That is the best set in terms of offensive capabilities when she's maxed out. The only issue is that it has zero survivability whatsoever. So we have to wait for Mago buff next month in December before we can actually see if this set will become worth using or not. If they give this set great survivability, like an Upgrund or L, for example, then it could be insane. So we'll see. It could work on a lot of units. Not a lot, but quite a few. So I'm definitely looking forward to Mago buff. For now, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but it can work if you want to do it. It's definitely a really good damage buff. Then we have the investment guide. So for the mandatory, we have 0 dupes, as just mentioned. I also gave like a high ranker rating in this scenario, just because of how good the HP recovery block is. Because like he meant, obviously we want to get to the HP recovery block part. The accuracy is not too important, so we can just leave her to report level 4. In terms of gear, it doesn't matter. If resistances are still working for you at your deficit, then go ahead and level up slot 4. Otherwise it doesn't matter. For ignition weapons, kind of the same thing. I would leave everything at +0, just give her L and survivability will be okay. If you are low deficit, you can go magic resistance slot 4, physical resistance slot 5, and just level them up so that you can have a lot of resistances. Otherwise, effect resistance here and magic beers will be okay. But again, don't level it up, just use the set at +0. For recommended, we go directly to Rainbow 5, and I also recommend to level up slot 2 just for extra crit rate and crit damage. It's always good. You can also go accuracy because at this point we care about the damage as well, and we want to hit the active skill. You can obviously always level up slot 1 and 3 if you need more accuracy, but that's kind of written here, so I'm not going to repeat it. Then you can level up the ignition weapon. The stats are basically the same as before, so affected slot 4, magic pierce slot 5. With the usual priority, you want to go magic pierce, crit damage, accuracy, evasion, effect resistance affected. Crit rate, not too necessary, you already have it in the subnodes. But in this case, I'm not investing in her as a damage dealing unit in terms of like the recommended investment. So we're still going to push more for the supportive capabilities, and we only go accuracy, affected, and swiftness as the only nodes that we invest in. Then for the nice to have, we also want to do some damage. So for that, we capitalize a bit more on the critical hit rate, attack, crit damage, and special move pierce. I did not recommend the max cooldown reduction. Again, for the same reason as before, I want to use L, and having too much cooldown reduction is annoying because it's going to decrease the uptime on your hit barrier. It is still fine. If you're not running L, go ahead and level that up as well, but it's unnecessary for the most part, I would say. Crimson Burst already has a lot of cooldown reduction in her kit, so you don't really need that, and that is usually more than enough. But okay, now let's look at the last point, which is the team building. So for team building, we have the usual section where I go over what she provides. So we have unremovable HP recovery block, energy decrease, and decent damage. I could have written maybe like grouping, but it's not really that good. So I decided not to. What she needs is durability, defense decrease if you want her to deal damage, and grouping because her own kind of sucks. And if enemies are grouped up, you're going to hit all of them with the active skill, apply the chain to everybody, and they will die super quickly. So that's pretty good. The enemies that you should avoid are basically no enemy, it doesn't matter. As long as your team is geared to counter them, you're fine. Like, she doesn't really struggle against any specific enemy, is going to be fine for the most part. And the enemies that this unit is good against is obviously anyone that can recover HP, because they cannot do it anymore once Rashut is on the field. So really good stuff. For synergies, I decided not to place too many. So here I just added Sharon as an example, but you can use her, like you can use any support with her as long as they provide durability. So Sharon here was just an example. It is fine, maybe not the best, but it is okay supporting unit. Then we have Yang for grouping. This could also be someone else, like maybe Anna as a grouper, kind of, or whatever. So Yang is just an example, but she's also the best grouper we have, together with Ulrich. So yeah, that's it. And then we have, again, another example, but this is just because any DPS really can work with Rashut. I added Augustin because he's famous for struggling against Shia or Ulrich, those type of enemies, and definitely Rashut could help by blocking their HP recovery. So this is, again, a placeholder, but Gusten definitely benefits from Rashut a lot. Then we have some basic themes for the monocolor team. It is a fairly weird one. I didn't want to use too many OP units, so we went with Rashut for her utility, Zahard as sort of a frontline unit, Kiwa for some ability. We have Ju as the DPS of the team with Sundance, and we have Yasracha just because why not? I mean, it's not really needed, but it's just to pick some annoying enemies and have them delayed a little bit. That's it. For the multicolor team, we have a variation of a team I kind of run, whether it's really a lot different than this. But we have Alphine to do some initial grouping with her Fox. We have Cunedon as the main DPS. The XSR Plus would be better, but I just wanted to add the SSR Plus in this case. Then we have Anak, which is going to link to Evan so that he can chain his special moves and keep everyone alive. And we have Rashut to apply the HP recovery block so that Evan can finish them off. That is kind of the logic. You can get away without some of the units. You can also just go with the usual Iwa instead of Evan, remove Alfin entirely, and that would still be fine. So yeah, this was just an example, not the best one, obviously. It's hard to tell which one is the best, but it was just to give you an idea if you have some units available, could be okay. So yeah, guys, that's all for the character review. Let me know in the comments how you feel about this unit. And also let me know if you like now the aesthetic of this page a bit more. I just replaced the border with this one. I removed the color here. And I think that's pretty much all. I also made some changes to the theme tab, but I'm going to cover that once I make the video about the energy decrease floors. So for now, that's about all. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I will see you in the next one. Bye.